So after these two moments, the action part of this starts. It begins only after the characters and the environment have been established, and it kind of establishes a traditional narrative structure in that Tinny has a problem he needs to solve, and that he needs to get away from this baby. He needs to get away from this threat. Um, so the core of the second act will be him trying to do so. First, he goes for the easy approach. He tries to kind of simply back up, but this attempt also indicates one of his kind of first impediments, which is that Tinny is a one-man band, and therefore his function as a toy is to play music as he moves. So this is fundamentally a problem if he needs to get away from this baby subtly and quickly, because he's going to be loud every time he moves, so he can't really run and hide. And it's really fun for a toy, but really awful for an escape. And he steps back, his drum plays a note, and his cymbal crashes. And again, we are treated to another plume wiggle, as both Tinny and the audience are kind of startled by this new music. So then he tries to turn, and he tries to turn around, and it doesn't work. And the sound comes in to punctuate his disappointment with the fizzle of an accordion. It's a really great kind of moment where it's just like wah wah wah, to just indicate that Tinny is indeed stuck. So, like a horror film, again, this is just kind of reminders of how educated these animators are in film, because they use a lot of horror film conventions in this film, and they have kind of no need most of the time to do horror film conventions because they're making really family friendly movies. But like a horror film, now that Tinny is stuck, the worst happens, and the next shot is the baby noticing Tinny. So he might have had a moment to get away when the baby wasn't focusing on him, when he was focusing on the baby toys, but now the baby sees him, and the kind of the reaction of the baby, again very natural, is to play, and this kind this turns out to be a chase, and it commences with the baby laughing and waddling, again to kind of show that he is a baby, not a monster, after Tinny, as Tinny panics and plays music as he runs away. It's kind of, he throws it all to the wind and is just like, I'm going to be loud, but I'm going to run away. And it consists of 13 shots over 25 seconds. Aren't you glad that I went in and did the math for you? Now you never have to do that. 13 shots over about 25 seconds. And it's the quickest and most varied editing that the Pixar team has done so far. And the film, or did so far, at 1988. The film alternates between medium close-ups and medium shots of the baby and Tinny as they traverse the living room. And the most obvious ending to the chase is when Tinny ends up running inside his own box. But this is preceded, however, by a shot that breaks with the style and therefore demands a different form of attention than the climax. The shot before it is Tinny looking up, and we get a shot of the baby from the exact angle of Tinny's position. We get Tinny's point of view, and that is the most subjective shot we have had so far. We get direct access to Tinny's perspective. And we get confirmation that the baby looks monstrous, and it's just a visceral access to Tinny's fear. We know exactly what he sees, and hopefully kind of experience what he's feeling. And not only are we placed in the world of this toy, we're placed in the eyes of this toy. And this is subtler than Red's dream sequence, but it's a more sophisticated device to align us with our protagonist. And we might not even be aware of this access, but we reap the benefits of knowing that to Tinny, this is not a dream, this is real. So this is just a moment, again, where it might fly by so quickly that you don't notice it happening, but you still reap the emotional benefits. This is the film manipulating you in the best way. It's like giving you this access so you understand exactly what's going on and the way you quote unquote should be feeling. So when Tinny runs into this box, it's this kind of abrupt end to this action. But it's also a really brief joke because Tinny keeps running, apparently unaware of his imprisonment. It's kind of like the cartoon physics moment without breaking cartoon physics. He's going to keep moving until he realizes he is stuck, just like Wile E. Coyote goes off the cliff and keeps moving until he realizes he has fallen off a cliff. But when Tinny realizes his own situation, he looks up scared. And this is my favorite shot of the entire film. It's so cool. And what follows, so what the shot is, it's the same point of view shot as before, but there's a really key difference that makes it very striking. So since Tinny is stuck in this box, he sees the baby through its crinkled, reflective plastic packaging. Its purpose is double. Sorry, I get really excited talking about this shot. I love it. Just like the point of view shot, it is a scary shot. Not only is the baby big and threatening, he's now warped and distorted. Since, quote unquote, again, this is from Catmull, quote, story is king, end quote, at Pixar, that is its most important function. So, despite my enthusiasm for its very many layers of function, that's the most important thing to remember. But it's also important to remember how technically complex that shot is. The light has to get refracted, and the clear packaging's texture has to register on screen. So the shot is convincing, and the technology is not rudimentary like the baby, making it easy to notice. So we don't notice that this is 1988 and they're still developing things like we do when we see the baby. We just register it as the clear plastic packaging. So it is a shot that still works more than 2 decades later. And it's also, again, superfluous to the plot, like Tinny's plume, like Luxo's wiggle. They don't need to do this, but they do. And so it's a perspective shot, and the filmmakers could have captured the moment with an easier camera angle, but they chose to test the boundaries of their technology while adding to the story. And so I'm going to bring it back to another Catmull quote here. And he says that, quote, when filmmakers, industrial designers, software designers, or people in any other creative profession merely cut up and reassemble what has come before, it gives the illusion of creativity, but it is craft without art. Craft is what we are expected to know. Art is the unexpected use of our craft. Unquote. So this use of plastic is indeed unexpected, and the repeated challenging of themselves points to Pixar as a studio with artistic goals that supersede convenient ones. It would have been simpler not to have this plastic, but it would not have been as interesting. So, ruminate on that. This is why I believe that Pixar is so artistically amazing. They don't just do what they have to, they test the boundaries and do new things with it. So, moving on. But that's my big pitch of this particular chapter. The box problem is solved quickly as Tinny incorporates his spinning move from before to turn himself around and exit the box, thus ending the chase as Tinny runs under the couch. Simple end to this chase, but it is the beginning of the third and most emotional act of the film. It starts, however, before it gets emotional, with another joke. And this gag is a gag that Lasser actually considers one of the funniest moments in Pixar history. He outwardly says that. And Tinny regains his composure onto the couch and slowly turns to his left, where he sees a huge group of toys staring at him and shaking in terror. So, if you remember from before, the living room was empty, but this proves that it wasn't actually empty. Everyone was just hiding under the couch, and the reason they're hiding under the couch is that the baby has scared them underneath there. And Lasseter likes this shot because it explains to the parents in the audience why all the toys get lost under the couch or under the bed. So again, he ties it back to the real world. This is this really imaginative, creative solution to an everyday problem. So, um, this is it is not a child's carelessness that sends things under the bed. It is a toy's choice to run underneath the bed. It is a significant step in Pixar history because it combines character and world building, and these inanimate objects are not only alive, but they have lives and worlds different than our own. Again, it's a very big moment that may have flown by really quickly for you. Most intriguingly, though, is that even within these foreign worlds, they act a lot like the human world. Instead of asking, what is it like to be a toy, it asks, what would you be like as a toy? Or perhaps, what about a toy's life can we use to make sense of our own? This will lead to, again, much bigger statements in their feature films about kind of life, love, and anything in between. Death, sadness, good, bad. The reason Pixar can be so deep is that they understand this concept. And so while Luxo Jr. and Red's Dream limited their explorations to mimicking human activity, Tin Toy is more creative and takes its world building to the next level. Again, Pixar will build on this later in features like Toy Story, A Bug's Life, and Monsters, Inc., just to name a few. But after this momentary laugh and realization, the story will shift to more complex territory that will cause Tinny to grow and change. So now we've indicated that Pixar can do this, and now we're actually going to explore it a little bit more deeply, a little deeper. So immediately following this kind of couch reveal and joke, the baby falls as he searches for Tinny, and he starts to cry, and the monstrous veneer from the chase kind of disappears. This is not a horror film anymore. He's not a monster, he's a baby. And not only is he a baby, he is a sad baby. And so Tinny responds with a look of concern because Tinny is a good protagonist who responds kind of the same way we would. And there is a back and forth as he starts to worry about the baby, but also remember his chase, and he therefore has to decide if Tinny needs to do anything. And so on one hand, the baby did see their chase as a game. He is an innocent creature who meant no harm, ultimately caused no harm, and therefore deserves no punishment. Innocent creature, baby, game, again, doesn't deserve punishment, doesn't deserve to be sad, needs help. On the other hand, this doesn't negate the fact that Tinny was terrified in the baby's presence. Even if the baby meant no harm, he could have caused harm to Tinny. And so again, should he help him? Should he not? And so this decision making, this kind of deeper decision making, is represented again by going back to his eyes and then going back and forth between the crying baby and the shaking toys underneath the bed, each representing one pole of his conflicting emotions. In the end, Tinny looks defeated. He crumples, feeling guilty, but as he does so, his accordion makes this disappointed noise. So it looks like he's kind of accepting defeat in the fact that he doesn't feel like he can help the baby, but kind of feels guilty for this. But as he kind of crumples, much like, again, you remember Junior doing that? The accordion goes off. And so it's a joke for a second because an accordion sounds kind of funny, especially when it sounds disappointed. But this gives Tinny an idea. Again, it has kind of a double function. It gives Tinny an idea. He smiles and looks up. And it kind of physicalizes Tinny's epiphany. He realizes that as a toy, he has the power to make the baby feel better, and he's going to take advantage of it. He is a toy that makes music. This music can make the baby happy, and he can go off and perform his function and make a genuine good difference in the world. So the next sequence is Tinny kind of reveling in this newfound power. He puts on a show for the baby, moving around him. He smiles and plays music, and the show works and the baby stops crying. This celebration, however, is crushed with a brief moment of terror as the baby picks up Tinny. It looks like kind of a bait and shift. We figured out this lovable solution to our problem, but then baby becomes terrifying again. It seems as if kind of Tinny's worst fears from the chase are coming true, but kind of the kind of a letdown, the shaking proves to be inconsequential. The shaking that destroyed the killer bees does nothing to Tinny. He's not harmed, and it ends really abruptly anyway. The baby doesn't shake him for very long. But this moment where we might start to believe that the baby could be functioning on a much higher level than a baby that age could, where he might be being compassionate and realizing that he could be scaring Tinny and hurting him, so he's putting down. That's not what's going on. It becomes a joke because he's not acting out of compassion, he's acting out of distraction. Tinny looks up annoyed at this turn of events because he had the baby's attention, it was working, then he scared him, it was all a big deal, but now the baby has no interest in Tinny whatsoever because there's a cut to the baby playing with that gray bag from before. Remember that opening shot? It tells us everything. So to the baby, this bag is suddenly more fun than Tinny, which can be very crushing, I'm sure, to a toy's ego. And it leads to the closing sequence, which is this kind of comic reversal of the main action from the middle of the film. Tinny chases the baby, looking for his attention, and the baby is too busy playing with the packaging. In the end, the infant does not recognize the great character growth that the audience has just witnessed. He's too busy playing just like he should be. So, Tin Toy has far more extensive action and cinematic techniques than Luxo Jr. and Red's Dream. Character growth is exhibited through action, and the atmosphere supports the action without distracting from it. Tin Toy's emotional advancement is the fact that the protagonist grows and changes in the brief period of the film. We do not just get shown this character, we get to experience what it is like to be a tin toy, and that's the final step that will ready Pixar for future films, feature length, and short. They have now learned how to create a character, create an expressive atmosphere, and how to tell us full stories that have never been told before within imaginative worlds. Tin Toy is the final fusion of all those elements. So, I've been talking at you for a while, but I do want to give a short conclusion on why the portfolio films as a whole are really important to talk about and what they mean. But we're going to take a break and come back. So, I hope you enjoyed Tin Toy. It's a really fun movie, and I hope that illuminated why it can be a really important film if you look really closely. So, see you back in a few minutes.